So thank you for tuning in to Chompin at the Bit. This is episode 50. On this episode, we're going to take a look at the rest of week 11 in the NFL. The week started on Thursday with the Seahawks-Cardinals game. But I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the rest of the slate and give you, the 5 best matchups to watch. Give you some top storylines to go with each one. Also, we'll give you a bold prediction. Something I did like a couple of weeks ago, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the rest of the NFL season, just to give you something a little different for the preview shows. We'll have to go over the rest of my week 11 picks, of course, and then take a look at upcoming episodes for the week, what kind of topics we'll be talking about. But first, just to get started, looking at the NFL week. There was no reported, widespread COVID positive tests or anything like that. So once again, the NFL schedule is going to go ahead as promised. No rescheduled games this week. So, after the scare early on in the season and all that, it kind of seems like the NFL has, gone through the toughest waters. And we did talk about a couple weeks ago that they have the provision that if too many games get canceled going forward, they'll build in the extra playoff team and all that. So as of right now, the trend, we won't be needing that, and it won't be needing the extra week in the schedule as well. So for right now, fingers crossed, the NFL seems to have the spread of the pandemic and all that under control. So going into week 11, there are some teams on the bye this week. So there's no Bills this week, no Bears, no Giants, no 49ers. So, if any of you had players on those teams, hopefully, you fixed your lineup and all that. I think, this one will probably be coming out a little after kickoff has started, so that might not help you too much, but hopefully you remembered before. But getting into biggest news of the week. So, interesting story with Drew Brees. Remember last week it was 5 fractured ribs, 3 on one side, 2 on the other side. So this week, Brees told a reporter that he actually has 11 fractured ribs, and that 8 of the 11 happened the week before last week against, the 49ers? And that alone it caught my attention because I couldn't imagine Brees playing in a game with 8 fractured ribs. That just seems like, maybe that has something to do with I'm sure it affected his throwing motion, him, if he did ever take a hit, he would definitely have to feel that. So I don't know if maybe he wore a little bigger flak jacket or something under his jersey. That's incredible to me. The fact that he now has 11, he is on IR, which after hearing 11 fractured ribs makes perfect sense. The doctors did say that his punctured lung is coming along. I think it said that he's regained like 100% productivity within the lung. So he's on the road to recovery, but he's definitely going to miss the next couple of weeks of the season. The Saints can kind of afford it. They are 7-2 on top of the NFC South. Yes, the Bucs are right behind them at 7-3, but in terms of playoff positioning, there's no real threat of the Saints falling out of the playoffs, so it's probably best that an injury to Brees does happen now. Hopefully they don't fall, out of the division race and still have a shot at winning it when Brees does come back. Question does have to be asked: Will he actually come back this season? I mean, depending on the ribs and all that, hopefully he doesn't try to push it, come back too soon, and we'll just have to see. Because, with his age and all that, and depending on how his backups play, which we'll get into in a second here, let's just say Hill, Winston, or whatever, in these weeks that Breeze is out, they go in and, the offense looks incredible. That does put Peyton in a tough situation once Breeze comes back. Do you just put Breeze back in, knowing that there could be a little rust factor? What do you do there? I'm sure because of Breeze's, resume and all that, Sean Payton's probably going to insert him back into the starting lineup as soon as he's ready to go. But it is something to think about. Just saying. So, transitioning to Sean Payton on this one. Sean Payton came out and said that picking the replacement for Breeze against the Falcons was a hard decision. And my question is, why was it that difficult of a, determination? To me, I think the obvious choice is Jameis Winston. He's an actual quarterback. We've seen, he's played in the NFC South all of his career, so he understands the Falcons and all that. He's put up 5,000-yard seasons. He's put up, I think, like 30 touchdown seasons. Yes, he has a tendency to turn the ball over, but I did think that because of that, you would insert Winston into Breeze's role. You still use Taysom Hill as you do, maybe a little bit more in terms of the amount of packages for him. But I just felt like it was the obvious thing, because if I'm lining up against the Saints and I see Taysom Hill in the backfield, I'm not really worried about him in terms of throwing the ball and making plays that way. My worry would be, run like RPO, run pass options with him, or just straight quarterback draws. Or, to a certain extent, them calling passing plays only to, get the secondary and linebackers out in coverage, give Hill a chance to drop back, survey the field, and then pick a running lane and kind of just take off. At least with Winston, Winston can make plays with his arm. And we know over the offseason, he got that LASIK surgery, so I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't throw as many interceptions, which that whole aspect of Jameis Winston has always fascinated me, because, if you watched Winston at Florida State, he was always squinting, and I always wondered if something was up with his eyes. And then he's gone all these years in his career, and then now all of a sudden he decides to have LASIK surgery. So it was always interesting to me. But ultimately, ESPN reported that Taysom Hill took all of the starter reps in practice this week, which I guess, Winston's been taking backup snaps all year, so I guess if they were just looking at it to get Hill more reps in terms of quarterback to, get a feeling for playing a little more under center, I guess I'd understand that. But coming out of it, ultimately, Sean Payton had decided that Taysom Hill is going to be the starting quarterback. I think that's the wrong decision. I think that gives the Atlanta Falcons a sense of comfort knowing that as bad as their defense is, the real threat is just keying in on Taysom Hill, making sure that you don't let him just run wild on you. So that's definitely something to look for as they play the Falcons 1 o'clock today. Like I said, time this gets published, they would have kicked off already, so you'd already have a good kind of sense of what Hill looks like with that offense. Oh, one last point. At least with Winston, there would be the threat for, Emmanuel Sanders deep, or even Taysom Hill going deep. Thomas will probably be Taysom Hill's security blanket, as Thomas runs a lot more of the slants and square routes, all that kind of stuff. So interesting thing to watch. I will definitely be tuning into that game to see how Hill looks and if Hill's on a kind of a short leash. There's nothing to say that Hill may not get the start. If he struggles for a few drives, I would be more comfortable putting Winston in a backup role, knowing that he would have an understanding of the playbook, and it'd be easier to go that route with the switch. Maybe that's what Sean Payton's thinking. Because if you went about it with Winston as the starter, he struggles, and then now all of a sudden you're switching it up to Hill being the primary quarterback. Maybe that transition would be a little rougher. So I may have talked my way into Sean Payton's way of thinking. Isn't it funny how that works? But we'll see. So I guess getting to the rest of week 11, like I normally do with the schedule, I take a look at it. I see what 5 games I definitely want to watch. Come on here, let you know. So if you're doing channel surfing, these are the games you should be watching. Or if you just tune into Red Zone, I'm sure these are the games that may, catch Scott Hansen's eye, and you might see a lot of them on Red Zone. So for me, matchup number 5, this one might be a little unconventional, but I've got the Eagles traveling to Cleveland to face the Browns. Big question for me with the Eagles: are the Eagles the class of the NFC least? That trash division. Somebody eventually is going to have to, win a couple of games and kind of, set themselves apart from the rest of the division. I mean, as of right now. So here's the sad thing. The Eagles are the only team in that division that have a shot at finishing the season. Actually, I'll take that back. I was about to say they're the only team that could finish above 500. That's a lie. But they look like the only team that could do it out of the 4. The Cowboys, you already know that's a lost season. Football team in Washington, lost season. Giants have been playing well lately, but there's little shot that they finish with 8 wins or more. So the Eagles are probably your only shot there. And Carson Wentz, out of the quarterbacks that are starting today in that division, should be the best quarterback in the division, but he has not played like that. And I just want to know, are the Eagles the best team in that division? And going up against the Browns team that struggled last week, we remember that, where Nick Chubb cost myself, a lot of people in Vegas, a win against the spread because he ran out of bounds at the 1 against the Texans, where they won 10-7. So the Browns offense has been struggling. Can the Eagles take advantage of that and, get out of Cleveland with an upset win? So I do want to see that. And then for Cleveland, that offense that looked so potent early in the season has fallen off in past weeks. Some of that is attributed to Odell Beckham getting hurt. I get that. But there's still talent on that offense between Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, who recently came off of injury. You have Kareem Hunt. They should be able to put up points, especially more than 10 than they did last week. So can the Browns offense get going, get back to how they were early in the season, and stay pace in that division, because they're in a tough division with the Steelers 9-0. They're right there with the Ravens at 6-3. So this is a game that the Browns should win. And then that way, move to 7-3. Put pressure on the Ravens to try to keep up, and on the Steelers to keep their win aways. Close that gap a little bit. So that's something I definitely will be looking at. My number 4 matchup for the week: Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Vegas to face the Raiders. If you remember early in the season, the Chiefs come in at 8-1. Oh, I should have said for the Eagles or Browns. The Eagles are 3-5-1. 3-5-1. Browns 6-3. Okay. Chiefs and Raiders. The Chiefs are 8-1. Raiders are 6-3. So it's a divisional matchup. The two best teams in that division going at it for their second matchup of the year. If you remember the first game that they played, the Raiders handed the Chiefs their lone loss on the season. The Raiders came out, hit the Chiefs in the mouth. They forced some turnovers. They forced, I believe, 3 interceptions from Patrick Mahomes. And that was kind of the first game where, the rest of the league was put on notice to the Chiefs aren't unbeatable. A lot of people came into this year thinking the Chiefs might run the table. Well, of course, that's over with now. But the Chiefs since then haven't lost the game. They are trying to, they're just trying to make their way through the season as a, returning Super Bowl champion. There's a little chance of them getting kind of bored with the regular season, just wanting to get to the postseason because that's all that matters. So, will the Chiefs get revenge from their first loss? Could it turn into something where the Chiefs try to make a statement and blow the Raiders out? We will have to see. They will be without Sammy Watkins, but he's kind of been a no-show most of the year, so that's not that big of a deal for them. And then for the Raiders, is it possible that the Raiders will sweep the season series with the Chiefs, give the Chiefs their second loss, the Raiders move to within a game in that division, and, John Gruden, who seems to be building something in Vegas with the Raiders, I mean, this is another big game for them and a chance to show that, that first week against the Chiefs wasn't a fluke and maybe they have some type of formula that works. Now, we do know the Chiefs' run defense has been kind of a weak point for them. The Raiders have their star young running back, Josh Jacobs. So if Jacobs can have a big day against that Chiefs defense, then that would definitely go a long way for the Raiders to pull off yet another upset. Third matchup, Tennessee Titans at 6-3 going to Baltimore to face the Ravens, who are also 6-3. So this isn't a divisional rivalry or anything. This is a interconference game, though, and with both teams at 6-3, it's a chance for one of them to move ahead of the other in terms of playoff positioning. Because now, as most teams have played 10 games or so, now the last month and a half of the season is kind of the teams that are just on the outside fighting to get in, the teams that are in the playoff hunt solidifying their position and trying to move higher up the ranking, and those at the top of the conferences just trying to make sure that they stay injury-free, play great football, and keep their standing at the top of the division. So 6-3, both teams right in the middle of the playoff hunt. Both teams coming off some kind of subpar performances. We know the Ravens had that game against the Patriots in the rain and all that. Lamar Jackson was expressing some frustrations after the game, where he's saying defenses are starting to figure them out. And I do want to see how will Baltimore come out and look after that game. Was that kind of a sign of some issues within the locker room? I don't know. We'll see. But can Lamar Jackson get that offense back on timing? Get the running game going, because they struggled with the running game last week against New England. The Titans' defense is, I don't know. The Titans' defense is real Jekyll and Hyde. Good Lord. Jekyll and Hyde. Sorry about that. But, they've had games where their defenses look great. They've had other ones where they looked like, they had a bunch of holes on defense. We know that the Ravens are run-oriented, so I'm assuming the Titans are going to come out and try to stop that run. But, will Lamar Jackson be able to get some room, great plays with his feet, J.K. Dobbins, will he be able to find space within the offense with the offensive line and create big plays? We'll have to see. For the Titans, the story with the Titans is Derrick Henry. And like I said, the Patriots were able to run the ball on Baltimore. So will Tennessee be able to get Derrick Henry going? He's had a couple of weeks where he's been subpar. So can Derrick Henry get going? Play the time of possession game. Let Tannehill get comfortable with, play action passing, that kind of stuff. And can the Titans get a big win against the Baltimore Ravens team that, like I said, they're 3 games behind Pittsburgh. Want to stay at least within arm's length of them to make it, competitive going down the stretch here. So big game for both teams. And for the Titans, they're tied at the AFC South with the Colts. So a chance for them to jump back up into the division lead and be a game up. Number 2 matchup, I've got Green Bay Packers at 7-2 going to Indianapolis to face the team I just mentioned, the 6-3 Colts. And this one's a simple game of, will Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers come up with a offensive game plan to score some points against the Colts' top passing defense? It's strength on strength. The Packers, score most of their points through the air, as their running game has been suspect. And the Colts are the best in the league at covering wide receivers. So something's got to give, you figure. And for the Colts, their top passing defense is going to have to try to confuse Aaron Rodgers with Devontae Adams, who's come on and letting people know that, everybody's talking about DeAndre Hopkins or whatever. Devontae Adams could be the best wide receiver in the league. You have Aaron Rodgers, who's still getting it done. As I've said before in here, I'm not that guy who thinks Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback of all time. I do think that there's issues there with him, but he is number 1 in the league in QBR. So that basically means he's been the most efficient quarterback. And that's going to, pose a certain test for the Colts defense. Maybe they... the biggest thing is going to be the Colts are going to have to stop Devontae Adams. He's the biggest threat in the passing game. You have Evan Lazard and... I can't remember their tight end, but it's basically Rodgers and Devontae Adams. You stop that connection, you got a good shot against the Packers. The Colts on offense, though, Phillip Rivers has to play turnover-free football. And with that, I think the Colts will rely on... It seems like Nyheim Hines has been getting the bulk of the carries these past couple of weeks. So keep riding that hot hand. If he suffers in production, you have... Was it Jonathan Taylor you can go to? Or there's like 3 running backs that they have in rotation. So get the running game going early, and they'll have a good shot at beating the Packers. Then the number 1 matchup for the week, Rams-Bucks. Yeah, the Rams at 6-3, Bucks 7-3. So my big question with this one is, maybe I've been sleeping on the Rams. I don't know, but the Rams are 6-3. And in that division, I've talked on here a lot about the Seahawks. I've talked a lot about the Cardinals. Haven't really talked about the Rams in that division. Now all 3 teams come into today at 6-3. The Rams, they were the it team a few years ago. Made the Super Bowl, lost, went downhill after that the past couple of years. Now they definitely are back on the uptick. Defensively, they have Aaron Donald still, who creates havoc for opposing offenses and quarterbacks. You have Jalen Ramsey on the back end, who takes each team's top wide receiver and pretty much takes them out of the game plan. So could it be that the Rams are actually back to that Super Bowl level and can make another run at it this year? this will be a game that, like I said, I'm paying attention to because I do want to see if they can, put up points on that Buccaneers defense, if they can get after Tom Brady, disrupt their flow. Because we know with Brady, there's Gronkowski, you got Godwin, Evans, Brown. There's weapons there. So if the Rams can get after Brady, make him feel uncomfortable, we all know you get that pressure on Brady up the middle. You can disrupt a lot that he's trying to do. And with Aaron Donald, he plays right over the ball. He plays right on the center, and he's in the best position to create havoc. So the Bucs will probably try to double him, sometimes even triple team him on the defensive line. But Aaron Donald has shown that he is still able to beat double teams. So interesting little matchup there. So if the Rams are able to go into Tampa Bay and beat the Bucs, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to start thinking of them as maybe the class of the NFC. Other side for the Bucs, well, like I said, keep Aaron Donald away from Tom Brady. I mean, that's not something you want. You don't want Donald living in your backfield because Brady is not the most mobile. Yes, he's mobile within the pocket where he can, shift his weight one way, step up in the pocket when needed, when the pressure's coming from the outside. But yeah, so Aaron Donald, key for the Rams. Find a way to get him at Brady for the Buccaneers. Keep Aaron Donald away from him. So there you are. Those are the 5 games of this week, that you definitely have to watch. Well, from today and tomorrow, as the Rams and Bucs is the Monday night game. Those are the 5 games definitely have to watch. Listen to this. Let me know in the comment section whether you agree with that. If there's a game that you think I may have missed that you would swap out one of these games for. I'm assuming the Eagles-Browns is my number 5. Might be the one some of you may have questions with. Definitely let me know. But, almost forgot. Bold prediction. So my bold prediction is for today, tomorrow, because I'm looking at that Rams-Bucs game. The over-under is set at 48 right now. And I know a lot of people would think with the tendency for the Rams to put up points with all the weapons that the Buccaneers have, my bold prediction is they will actually hit on the under 48. I mean, I'm at like a 3 or 4 in terms of how certain I am of it, but something tells me it could turn into a defensive battle with some field goals being kicked early instead of touchdowns being scored. So, bold prediction, under 48. Now, so with that, we can go ahead, take a look at the rest of my Week 11 picks. Once again, new here. I do the Thursday night game, Sunday night game, Monday night game, Falcons game, Patriots game, one wild card game. So I already did my pick for Thursday night football, which on Tuesday when I do the Week 11 review show, go ahead and we'll look at that. But to give you the rest of my picks, I'm going with Falcons. So we have Falcons Saints game. The Saints go into that game as a 4.5 point favorite. Give me the Falcons to not only cover, but I'm predicting that the Falcons will upset the Saints today. So make a note of that. I just think the whole Taysom Hill starting at quarterback was a dumb decision. And one thing we know about the Falcons is they have a tendency to put up, 30, 35 points when that offense is clicking. And I would not be surprised if, Hill's inability to lead the Saints offense creates quick 3 and outs, gives the Falcons a short field to work with. I think the Falcons pull out this one. But I'm at least picking them to cover. They don't have to upset them. I've explained the spread before, but so Saints 4.5 point favorite. They have to win the game by at least 5 points. If they don't, the Falcons cover. So I'm picking the Falcons to cover. Second matchup, Patriots-Texans. So Patriots are a 2.5 point favorite on the road in Houston. I'm taking the Patriots on this one. I do think with Newton in that running game, I think they'll be able to run on Houston's defense. Big thing for them will be to get a lead early so that they can stick with the running game. I think with the conditions in Texas, in Houston, you don't have to worry about a monsoon or anything like that. I think there'll also be some place for Cam Newton to make in the passing game. And the Texans right now are a team that's going through a lot. New coach, but fired the GM who was the coach, so they got a GM search going. They're trying to find their way in terms of what to do for next year. Deshaun Watson is still a threat at quarterback, but I just think the Patriots will have enough to win this one, so I'm taking the Patriots to cover the 2.5 point spread. Third matchup, I'm going to take the Dolphins and the Broncos game. So the Dolphins come into this as a 3.5 point favorite on the road. The Dolphins are the hot team in the NFL right now. They're the it team. They're the team that everybody's watching, with Tua making the switch from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Tua. And all he's done is come in, win 3 straight, with each game becoming more comfortable in the offense. I think the Broncos, on the other hand, are a team that's in decline. They're dealing with some injuries, and I just think that after today, the Dolphins will be 7-3 with the same record as Buffalo, who's on the bye, and we may be talking about Tua being the new it quarterback going forward in the league. I'm just going to say. So that's the third one. Next matchup is the Sunday night game, where we have the Chiefs and the Raiders, which I talked about in my top 5 games to watch. So in this second matchup, the Chiefs are a 6.5 point favorite on the road in Vegas. I just think Kansas City is going to have revenge on the mind. They're going to want to make a statement. They're going to try to blow out the Raiders. And I think they cover that spread and win by at least a touchdown. Yeah, I just think Patrick Mahomes and all those guys are going to want to, give it to the Raiders. Kill any thoughts that they have about them being a team that can perform against the Chiefs better than anybody. They want to prove something tonight. I think they get it done there. And then final pick, Monday night game. I am taking the upset here as the Rams face off against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are the 3.5 point favorite at home. Something about this game, I think the Rams will be able to pull this one out. I think Aaron Donald will be able to create enough of a havoc in the backfield that will throw Brady off. Ramsey's going to play. I do wonder who they're going to put Ramsey on. I think if I were the Rams, I'd probably put Ramsey on Antonio Brown, because I do think that Brady is kind of on a mission to look for Antonio Brown first. So by putting Ramsey on Brown, when he looks over there, that now creates a little more time for Donald to try to get into the backfield and really put pressure on Brady. So give me the Rams in that one. Just a review, I'm taking the Falcons to cover against the Saints, possibly upset the Saints in that one. The Patriots to cover against the Texans. Dolphins cover against the Broncos. Chiefs to cover against the Raiders. And the Rams to upset and cover against the Buccaneers. So there are my picks. Like I said, Tuesday's episode, I will take a look back at the picks, see how well I did. But yeah, so there's my, preview of the rest of the Week 11 slate. And as I always say, hope you get a chance to catch as many games as you can. Because like I said, there's a lot of good games on the slate this week. A lot of matches I think could be close. There should be a few upsets, so you should have fun watching football, because I know I will. But I guess looking ahead to this week's episodes, I will take a look back at some things I saw from college football tomorrow. Tuesday, like I said, take a look back at Week 11. Wednesday, I will probably look in on the NBA. Now, I could shift the NFL Week 11 look back to Wednesday if something major happens in the NBA I need to talk about on Tuesday. So, Tuesday or Wednesday will be NBA, NFL talk. And then, of course, come around to Thursday will be Thursday Night Football mode. Look at that matchup, which at that point it'll be Thanksgiving. So there's going to be 3 games to look at. So yeah, I'll probably have an episode for you early Thursday, which I know, depending how you're handling Thanksgiving, give you something to listen to while you're waiting for that food to get cooked. So, but yeah, and then come the end of the week, we'll kind of just touch on whatever's going on. So, hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did, and I hope you may have learned something. I don't know, but as I said before, let me know if you agree with everything I talked about. If you want to give your opinion, you can definitely do that as well. I am trying to be more interactive with you guys who are listening. So you can reach the show on the Facebook page, Chompin at the Bit, on Twitter, at Chompin Podcast. Especially on Twitter, I'm starting to be more active on there, where I will put up polls from time to time to kind of see what you guys are thinking based off of some topics. So definitely follow the show on there. Subscribe to the show wherever you are listening to this podcast, because it is out on all major podcast platforms, wherever you do listen. And also I have a YouTube page, which is my page, Kyle Edwards. You can go there. The episodes are there as well. So yeah, I got you covered wherever you need to find me. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Be safe out there. God bless. And I will catch you next episode. All right.